Next was his glasses I smashed, my nose to his nose, him so shocked, fresh out of grad school and brimming with postmodern potential, that he laughed as he gathered the pieces. Next was his hands around her throat, something about starched shirts was at the first. A chicken and egg thing, maybe, because later he drove up in that 59 Rambler, Robin's Egg Blue, with those cool electric windows, and we snuck around the barricades and bombed down that empty dirt road 90 miles an hour, him late for work and smoking Camels. Oh, how I loved his first flash and burn in the closed cab and the twist of tobacco smoke and sweat. And I didn't see him until New York City, walking fast down the littered sidewalk where he lived in that mile-high apartment building with a million other people who all hung their laundry out the window. How it took all day to climb the stairs, and he bought that 64 Falcon, same Robin's Egg Blue as the Rambler. The salesman wrote down $1,400 and pushed the paper across the desk, and we drove down to Wrightsville Beach to fish on the long pier, him bitching about going blind because it got dark and he forgot he had his sunglasses on. And I got the worst sunburn of my life, but he was so relieved not to be blind he drank that whole bottle of Jameson's, which was when he showed me how he could blow smoke from his ear, because I had never seen anyone drunk before, or blow smoke from their ear for that matter. But he could do both that summer. He gave me the hunting knife, how it quivered in the dirt there, like a frightened animal, and him grinning a circus act. So we got this place on the island that was falling over a cliff. But his second wife left him anyway, about the same time the blue Falcon got towed, because he hadn't paid the parking tickets, and some punk had smashed the front window in and stolen his new electric typewriter and 2 cartons of Camels. But the cop didn't care because the parking tickets were lying on the ground in a mix of leaves and broken glass, which was the first time I ever saw a guy hit another guy. Meanwhile, the house fell over the cliff one night, right after I had run down the back stairs because I had never seen anyone smoke dope before. They all came chasing after me, everyone wandering around in the dark, and the fucking house fell over the fucking cliff. So that was that. And nothing to do but run to Canada and hide out in a farmhouse on Prince Edward Island and eat frozen mackerel, and shit in a frozen outhouse and chop through the frozen ice. So I buggered off and hitchhiked many miles, which were now kilometers, and didn't hear from him until I got a letter one day saying he needed a valid license plate. So I sent him the one off my 62 Dodge Dart that I had just bought. $200. Fire engine red. Went down to registry the same day and got a new license plate, saying my old license plate had been stolen, which meant it wasn't really valid anymore. But he was on PEI anyway, so who gives a shit? And then I didn't see him till he bought a magazine, which I don't mean he bought a magazine, I mean he bought the whole magazine for a lousy buck, writing all the articles himself under different names, and taking all the pictures like he had this big organization, hawking ads for bar tabs and living on players' planes and rum and coke and Nescafe mixed with lukewarm hotel tap water, and Jesus, the babes, one after the other. Well, how long could that go on, eh? Next thing, he's shacked up with some barefoot artist in the country growing beans and pot and chickens. A regular Farmer John, only she's crazy and she's got 3 crazy kids, and the chickens are running through the house shitting on everything, and they're all out there together going crazy together making art whoopee until winter comes and they run out of heating oil and burn the furniture and the fireplace. And then she kicks him out for pounding her head against the wall, which I don't know if it was about starched shirts or what, but he shacks up with a neighbor lady and they grow beans and pot and chickens. One day I hear him on the radio interviewing barnyard animals, asking the pigs what they think of the government. They snort. And he asks the geese if the air traffic laws are egalitarian or whatever. They honk. He asks the cows about U.S. trade agreements. They just stand there chewing their cud like they don't even understand the question. And then neighbor lady gives him the boot because he's filled her place up with broken toasters, see, that he bought at the flea market. But he rented her cabin out back. Moves his toasters down there. Nobody sees him, just hears him on the radio now and then about how no one in Canada can cook grits. Meanwhile, he burns the cabin down in the fireplace and drops a couple of derelict cars in the front yard, both Robin's Egg Blue, one a Cutlass Supreme rear-ended by a fire truck. It came out 2 feet short of a car length in a zippy little Honda he drove with no oil in it until the motor seized, before sneaking back to neighbor lady's couch while the Pittsburgh Steelers are kicking the tarnation out of the Green Bay Packers, and he's lying there with his feet up drinking her wine and watching the game and grilling her about her new boyfriends. So she booted him out again. I gave him this ancient Volvo I found with a little robin's egg blue poking through the rust. No brakes or taillights, but he got it going. Drove it like double zeros, always at night, figuring the cops had to sleep sometime. He even pulled the back seat out so he could curl up there like a dog with the motor running, never knowing if he would wake up or not, because then he had tumors growing everywhere. It got to be a regular thing, him going down to the hospital for derelicts to get the tumors scraped out. They would sew him up and push him out the door into his blue Volvo with his testicles hanging out one trouser leg. This went on for quite some time, till one day he died, looking at his wristwatch, presumably calculating how long he had suffered this ridiculous life. So we burned his body, scattered his ashes to the wind.